lose. Finally, yeah!
Victory is ours!
Whoa, Whitlock Brimstone!
Now, the journey continues with a Silver Adventure Box.
It is a bright, sunny day in the middle of April. I'm dog sitting, and the Super Adventure Festival is going to be closing down in just a couple of days. Last time the festival was around, when it was in its closing stages, Bract decided to take on the challenge and ran on through, getting every upgrade, showing off every shop, and generally having a good fun time. So we have seen pretty much all of the Super Adventure Box, but there is one extra side to it. One big, scary, unbelievable side, and that's the hard mode, Tribulation. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. Now, last time, Bract's original adventure in the Super Adventure Box remained as a secret, hidden, exclusive series in the background for about a year for my patrons. And well, now this will become the secret, exclusive series as we brave, once again, World 1 and 2, but in a totally different way. So let's check this out. And for some of this, I'm super in practice. For some of this, I'm super out of practice. So I really can't believe we're already here. I'm really excited to show you guys how this works. Remember, as we come into the world hubs, you obviously get a choice to speak to the villager in the center, who will say, World 1, vote for the zone. You can go into the sunny glade, or you can go into the dark woods, or the swamp. Well, we're going to say we need more time to decide. There is the infantile cloud we talked about before, but then also this guy, the grumpy cloud, the raining cloud, the miserable cloud. And why does he look this way? Because this is how we'll be feeling by the end. If you want to play the ultimate challenge and enjoy painful frustration, you can play Super Adventure Box in Tribulation mode. Is that your sort of thing? And we can say, yes, I'm really into that. Don't judge me. Or, no, that doesn't sound appealing at all. The devs are really clear about this. They added a hard mode to the Super Adventure Box, but it's a really, 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 really hard mode. It's in the vein of classic games that would be brutally punishing, or as I actually have more experience with, the indie scene of the late 2000s and early 2010s, where you could get some brutally difficult games people would subject themselves to, maybe in front of a YouTube video for everyone to watch out of a bitter and fun sense of Schadenfreude. So that's what we're going to be doing right here. I'm really into that. Don't judge me. This content was added with the Back to School update, which would put it in 2013, right around when a lot of this stuff was catching people's attention, I'd say. So, Tribulation mode. Vote for the zone you want to play, and your party will be teleported. Warning, party members won't be able to join or rejoin the group once the zone's been entered. I think this warning was added later, because this is so brutally difficult. Players used to beat it and then load their friends in at the last second so they could skip actually doing the content. Well, that doesn't work anymore, I think. So, let's do it. Zone 1. You'll notice this time Bract doesn't have the option of all the zones. He only has Zone 1, and that's because we genuinely do have to go through the whole game again on this more difficult mode. Check it out. We get the red shield now, and several things will have changed. You might be wondering, and look, this is almost ironic now. We start our journey in the sunny glade, confident that we'll find it. Yeah, right. You'll notice, you might be wondering, what exactly can they change? I mean, it's Guild Wars 2, right? The jumping's going to be the same. The combat's likely to be the same. Well, it becomes immediately obvious the second that you load in. Instead of being on a nice, happy, sunny glade where we can just walk anywhere we like, we're instead surrounded by spikes. Well, that's not too bad. We did see spikes in World 2. They just do a little bit of damage to us when we walk on them. Oh my god. Yeah. You get one shot if you touch pretty much any of these hazards. Well, right, I see. So there's going to be spikes, and it's going to change the way we play a little bit. There's also some other things you might keenly spot, like this cloud here, and on top of this tree is a weird new interactable. That's fine. I think it's pretty obvious how we get out of this, right, guys? There's a rock in front of us, and if we just jump onto the rock, what the hell is this? It's not just spikes. There are invisible, grumpy clouds telling us we are not allowed to pass. And so if you try and climb through, you'll hit the cloud, fall onto the spikes, and end up dying. So, okay, where are clouds then? All around here too? All right, well, we can actually make it this time. That's good. And then we can maybe have a look over here. Well, this is fine. This part of the map's open, but we want to go this way. And so now you'll see the beauty of Tribulation mode. It's very trolly and very difficult, but there is actually something really impressive going on here, and that's the fact that you'll actually be able to experience these maps in a totally new way now, as the devs force you to take new and different routes you may have never considered before. So, well, we want to get to the other side of the map. Let's just see what happens if we walk along here. Well, this doesn't seem too bad. Ah, there's more clouds. Okay, all along the other side of the lake. I genuinely think that purely through game design, Tribulation mode is able to be funny and humorous, and I hope throughout these videos to actually prove that to you guys. So, yeah, we can't seem to be able to cross. Well, we do still have the key, and we have the chest. That's all well and good. I guess we can open this for a single bauble. Thank you. And many of the secret rooms will still be available. Of course, you should remember that we can blast our way through here. You could get extra stuff, but you never know quite what's changed, whether devs might have thrown an extra cloud or later hazard, and they really do keep things fresh. So let's try and make some progress. It's a puzzle, right? How do we get past the clouds? You may have figured it out, mostly because I drew attention to it a second ago. We want to get on top of this tree. Oh my god, okay, another hazard. So sometimes, in Tribulation mode, the rocks that you think are your friends and you can climb around on turn out to not actually be rocks. So, by the way, we can just jump across here like this. So, for example, this guy, you might want to climb on to get, like, past the cloud or, like, jump over, say, for example, on that. But the cloud will sometimes... the rock will sometimes leap up and down and hurt you. The clouds, too, you will have noticed have a little mechanic here. Let's just try and trigger that again. After a cloud appears, a few seconds later, it will zap itself. See that electrification? And if you're standing near it when it electrifies, it will do damage to you. The idea is that the clouds are things that, like, push you away. But you might keenly have realized they do have collision, and later you might just need them. Even though they're starting out as things that are hazards, later they can be used as actual platforms when you really have to start thinking outside the box to beat the stuff. Okay, so we definitely can't cross over this, but there is this tree here. Oh, and we just died again. Well, what was that, you might wonder? Yeah, the happy flowers in the sunny glade, many of them are now deadly. Yeah, that's right. They just explode. So this one's fine. Lots of these ones are fine. I'm hoping to show you it again. So don't trust anything in Tribulation mode. Anything. Something could pop up out of nowhere. The flowers themselves are out to get you. So yeah, we do have this tree, which is what I was trying to show you guys. And in normal mode, you would never come here. In Infantile, you would never come here. Well, you would actually nowadays, I guess. With the most recent return of the festival, there was a hidden thing at the very top of the tree. But for Tribulation, check it out. We drop down, and we can interact with this thing. Well, you'll notice it's a balloon dispenser. These do not appear in normal mode. They're Tribulation exclusive content, shall we put it that way. And there is actually quite a lot of that stuff, including furniture shops and things that I can't wait for us to get to. But this is going to be one of your mainstay items we'll come across. You see, there's a little balloon here. When we press F, we interact with it. It pumps, it pumps, it pumps again. The balloon gets really big, and then I guess we can hold it. The collection of the balloon is actually instantaneous. You don't have to wait for the hold animation. And I'm pretty sure most players don't even know the animation really means anything. But there you go. So great. We have a balloon. Well, it's very nice and happy. Reminds me of the wacky waving inflatable arm tube man. But this one is not actually out to kill us, despite being a happy face that we will learn to not trust any longer. We get 2 skills. You get an attack, and then lastly, you get this other skill to unlock. Well, what do we unlock? Well, the next thing we've got to do is utilize this tree to get past all those clouds. Now, if we remember, the line of clouds comes down here and along the side of the lake like so. So, can we land on this? I mean, we could try and land over here, and maybe we'd end up on top of a cloud, and then the cloud would get electrified and maybe knock us into the spikes. So, let's just try over here. Oh, and it does work. Fantastic. So, if you stand on this too long, the electrification, you'll see, does pulse out for quite a way. And it did hit us there. We got lucky in that we got knocked toward the cloud on that one. But you won't always be so. So you want to keep a bit of pace about you. You can jump onto that tree and then move on very quickly. The next thing you'll notice is this happy little cloud here. Well, we can walk through him. He doesn't have any collision or anything. And you might not think to do this whatsoever. But we're holding a balloon that was newly added to Tribulation. And there's this new little cloud that's been newly added to Tribulation. If we unlock the cloud, you'll see we raise a flag. Voila! Just like Mario. And with that, we have a checkpoint. Check it out. If I die, I won't appear at the level spawn. I'll instead appear at this flag. So that's nice. That's pretty forgiving, right, guys? We're in Tribulation. It's supposed to be a lot harder, and yet they're giving us free checkpoints. Why would they go ahead and do that? You might be cynical about that at this point. But Tribulation courses are so much gargantuanly longer than the normal courses that they really needed an extra checkpoint mechanic. And this one is just to teach you about it. Actually, I think on my first ever playthroughs of Trib, I didn't realize this and ran past. It's funny, I do have videos, a couple, showing my very first original Tribulation attempts. They're hours and hours and hours long, and I do recommend you guys check them out. I'll probably put them in the playlist for this series at the end so you guys can see. Truly, a big part of Trib is that first-time puzzle-solving experience, which I've kind of provided with those videos. This time, we're going to do a bit of a different take, where I actually show you and teach you the quickest way to do the courses, or as far as I understand them, and the routes from a more knowledgeable starting position. But these checkpoints are definitely necessary. Sometimes you'll find 3 or even 4 of these flags between 2 conventional checkpoints. Actually, maybe 4's a bit much. Maybe 3 is the most you ever see. But trust me, there's a lot of stuff to get through. This is only World 1 Zone 1. And look at all the stuff we just had to talk about to even move 2 inches from the starting spawn. Amazing. So, let's get going. And as we progress, I will start to pick up the pace as there's less new obstacles for us to learn about. So here, look, there's even more spikes. Well, we don't see any reason to go into that, so I guess we don't have to worry. But there is this rock here that does threaten to knock you inside. Oh god, it's even... I didn't actually want to land in that. So you do want to be careful. Avoid the flowers! I was literally about to say that. Make sure you avoid flowers. You can dodge through them as well. Most of this stuff is fair and works with the dodge mechanic. So, weirdly, in regular Super Adventure Box, you don't kind of have to worry about endurance that much. What the hell? But in this one, you do. Yeah, next hazard, invisible floors. Oh, I can't even go 5 seconds without being hit or falling into something. Invisible floors? That's actually the wrong way to describe it. Fake floors. Let's call them those. Every now and then, in regular Super Adventure Box, you'd never think about this. But sometimes you'll notice... Oh my god, even a regular snake is now becoming scary. You'd never notice this or think about this. But the terrain looks slightly different, right? So you've got the terrain here, and then down here, this one's slightly different color. And that's fine in normal mode. Why would you ever think about that? But in Trib... you're never quite sure. When you move on to these new slightly different colored platforms, they could be false floors that will send you falling to your death. Seriously, like that there, for example. It's amazing how things that you just completely ignore in normal mode suddenly become important telegraphs for getting around crazy, tricksy pitfalls. The idea of Tribulation mode is to look brutally punishing and unfair, but there are always patterns and rhythms and things to watch out for that do help you get through. You can intelligently figure out, we can climb on that tree. Once you've learned about the hazard of the rocks, if you commit it to memory, you can be aware, hey, maybe I shouldn't walk near some of these, things that might be trying to get at me. Sometimes they are just brutally trolly, like this. This rock doesn't look like any of the other ones we saw, and yet now we've learned they can knock you into things. So, it's a bit of give and take. But it is something you can learn. You can beat these without dying. You can beat these in just a couple of seconds. And hopefully I'll show you how efficiently you can run through eventually. So here, we do know that this slope isn't a false floor. So we can walk along it to keep ourselves safe. And then hopefully getting towards this snake. I do want to point out as well, if you're really weird with the camera, you can often, look underground. This won't work on any actual solid terrain, but on false floors, you can look under there. And yeah, you can even, get right into the edge sometimes and have a good peek. So, yeah, that's all of that. Now, what we want to do is keep going. And here, we're scared if this is a false fall. Look at all these flowers. Isn't there just such a high chance one of them's going to be an explosion? Well, no. You start getting tricked out by stuff. We can move on. And then there's the matter of shops. Things you would never consider worrying about, or secret rooms, going to in normal mode to get extra baubles. All of a sudden, you don't know if there's an invisible cloud or a false floor that might do you in. Maybe a flower that will kill you. So here's the checkpoint. Seems pretty simple to come up this tree, right, guys? 1 ledge, 2 ledges. Oh, my God. And so here we can see that the finger on the wall that normally would point you where to go are also out to get you. Now, let me tell you, those fingers, here we can be quite sneaky if we're quick, and we just do a quick little dodge roll. We can not get knocked by the rock, but we hit the flower on the other side. My God. I'll tell you guys, I'm actually out of practice on this zone and some of the earlier levels, which are the easy ones. The later ones, I'm in a lot of practice, and you'll see why, because of the rewards you can get from Tribulation mode. We'll be touching on later. But it's these fingers that are actually much more deadly and frustrating to me than most things. Why is that? Well, the jumping and the places that you can walk, you'll eventually, or very quickly actually, start remembering. It's amazing. You might really be interested to learn about yourself, just how fast you can commit to memory, like routes and where you walk and how you do it. It can only take a couple of runs through a zone and all of a sudden you got it down pat. So you can be skipping all the false floors and you know where all the false rocks are and you know where all the spikes are and you can just do it. A bit like how once you've sung a song enough times, you kind of know the lyrics. If you try to recant the lyrics at random without listening to the song, it might be difficult and you might not know you have that knowledge. But as you play through everything in sequence, it all just sort of unfolds. It becomes kind of easy, except these goddamn fingers. The fingers I can never seem to remember very well, and they always end up killing me and sending me back to the earlier checkpoint. Thankfully, when they kill you, they don't respawn, just like how the flowers don't respawn. And for those reasons, it's not too bad dying to them, because you know the next time you go through, that hazard is eliminated, but they're still very, very frustrating. Here, we get the checkpoint, and look, something as innocent as a bunch of flowers around it now is not just happy little environment design. It's a serious consideration for us. So I'm going to jump over, hit the checkpoint, and woof, we're through. So, immediately, I really like this little checkpoint here. It kind of helps you realize the game very fast with Tribulation mode. You start wondering, if I was the developer, what would I do to troll the player, right? To make this a hassle for the player. Where would I put invisible and dangerous and horrible things? The flowers we can see, but what about more false floors? And what if, like, when we jump across this gap, there's a cloud? So what would I do? Well, we know from playing on easy mode that the easiest route is to come down here. This is just the field, right? And sure, there's a lot of flowers there. We got a good dodge on one here. But immediately you'll see that the easiest route in normal mode is almost never gonna be the Tribulation route. It's a really fun game that the devs basically play where they know that you'll be anticipating what they're thinking, and later they'll even start double bluffing with you with this. I mean, much later into Tribulation, once we're into World 2, where you'll not do an obvious thing thinking that it's going to be trapped, and actually it was the safe road all along. But we'll get to that later. This is a great checkpoint because it immediately, we died to the flower, but it's not a big deal. This is a great checkpoint because it kind of immediately allows that to all coalesce in your mind. You're going to instinctively, probably, as a Tribulation player, come up the higher road. And as you round this corner, you'll think to yourself, it's a good thing I did, because the regular routes are pretty much a no-go. And look now how it's forced us to come along these trees and actually got use out of these trees, which in normal mode was basically just optional content that you didn't really have to engage with, unless, say, you were going for all the baubles. Suddenly, the monkeys knocking us off becomes very scary, as the entire situation becomes very precarious. So we can take these guys out. Oh, I'm not able to hit him. Here I'm actually holding a key. It's probably not a good idea. If you're doing Tribulation mode, it's unlikely that you'll probably be going for chests and trying to collect baubles through conventional methods. One of the rewards for Trib is a ton of baubles. You'll see that in a second. So I very rarely go for keys. I very rarely go into hidden rooms. I very rarely even go to the side to pick up like these meat shanks and things. You'll notice I have been dying and not caring much. I am using the Super Adventure Box Infinite Continue coin I talked a little bit about on the previous series when we went through on normal modes. I think that thing is invaluable, especially on your first time through Trib. You're going to die so much. You'll just burn through and get a ton of game overs. I cannot imagine doing it without that Infinite Continue coin. And so my mindset has completely changed with deaths here. I don't mind deaths. I'll take them if it's a more efficient way to get back and get back on the correct course or whatever. Dying is a part of the experience to be loved, really, when it comes to Tribulation mode. And only when you're really good and trying to farm Tribulation mode are you really going to worry about dying. Not because of the lives mechanic, but actually just because it means you've gone back to an earlier area of the map. So, well, we've got to the end of the line now, and we know that the checkpoint is over there. Shall we just try and see what we've got? Well, I'm going to start looking ahead now and teaching you guys. First of all, this finger is going to try and kill us as soon as we land. So I'm going to land and dodge straight away. That dodge didn't actually matter in terms of the evade frame, but it did move us such that the hand never managed to hit. There are two ways to avoid hands: by baiting them into the wrong direction or by dodging. Sometimes dodging isn't really possible, and you'll see examples of that later. Now, here's another thing. If we walk forwards, you notice how the ground is indented ever so slightly here? Yeah, that's a false floor, and we can clip our camera under. You'll notice this would plunge us into lava. I do kind of want to show you that. Here, I'll show you the lava, guys. There you go. And you'll notice there's a ton of false floors around. Yeah, even though you can absolutely see a lot of hazards in this room that we're in, or heading back into right now, via these spikes, even where there's not spikes, a lot of that stuff is false floor. That's why, as I'm coming along these trees, I didn't jump off of them early, because I think you'll just end up getting killed by them. Oh, we run on here. Well, that's fine, you might think. Look, WP. It's false floor here, but then look, there's a different area there. So what if we rush, we jump? Well, it's just out of range. You might be able to do it with a jump dodge. Let's try that. Okay, so there's a jump dodge. Well, we can make it. And indeed, as I explained before, jump dodges do let you get further than you otherwise would. But as we move to the checkpoint, one final nasty troll. And this is actually one of the main mechanics of Trib. It takes quite a while to appear in World 1 Zone 1. I didn't really have any memory of that. It's spikes. So, yeah, you can find invisible clouds. You can find false floors. The invisible clouds aren't so bad because, aside from a bit of electric on a delay, you can usually avoid them, right? It's only when the devs place them in the middle of jumps that they're particularly dangerous. But the worst invisible obstacle that will plague you through most of the adventure are spikes. They'll come up and insta-kill you. Basically the same as false floors, but they're more versatile. Here you'll notice there's another little gap here, so we're going to jump because that's going to be a false floor. They're basically more versatile for the devs to implement. They could put these spikes anywhere, even if you're up a cliff where false floors wouldn't necessarily be possible. Now, in the previous years, it used to be that once you got hit with the spikes, they completely despawned and became 100% invisible again. So here we can do this without a jump dodge. They became completely invisible again, meaning you were never quite sure where the boundary was. You might walk back here and think, okay, hold on, can I jump onto this rock and then leap over? But now, in one of the more recent years, the devs did change Tribulation mode so that once you've hit a hive of spikes, they are forever obvious afterwards. So it becomes a lot more like the hands mechanic, in that once you've triggered the mechanic, you can kind of see it and play around it. They're still extremely dangerous, and if you touch them or go anywhere near them, and that includes their full height, you will die. It's the fact that their full height is relevant that is stopping me from being able to jump on this boulder here and go over. I think, at least. Or the fact it's a false boulder next to another false boulder. I've never done this strategy, so I'm scared to, show it off, and I'm going to be continuously scared as this series goes along to do that. So yeah, it is more forgiving now. A lot of people complained when they made this change, but I actually think it's for the best. Tribulation is about being funny and sneaky and tricksy and baiting the players, but it becomes a matter of pure frustration after a while if the spikes are completely invisible. Imagine you're in a really long, grueling sequence only to get hit by a spike trap you only half remembered was there 5 minutes ago. And so, yeah, to a certain extent, we do indulge in the deaths in Tribulation mode, but I do think that this was a slightly more positive change for the game type. So, yes, well, it's all spikes. Obviously, we can't go this way. Let's head over here. And look, more spikes there. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Alright, I'm going to try and not hit so many hazards now, and we'll make some progress. I'll actually show you guys, once you know where to go, how fast you can make some headway. In truth, I probably could have beaten this zone 2 or 3 times already within the length of this video. Seriously. This one's going to be a little bit longer, just because I'm showing you the idea of Tribulation mode and all the special things it's doing. But yeah. Okay, so we're not going to go too close to that. You'll notice once again there's some balloons. And well, now the idea of getting middle checkpoints is going to become really obvious. Because as we come up here, you'll see, oh, that actually feels pretty good. That allows us to skip that whole sequence going all the way along all of those trees, which I've cut out several times already in the video. And now, well, it looks like we've got a ton more to do, because there's all of these trees around here, and obviously, this is the way that we're meaning to jump. And you start getting scared even of platforms like this, right? What if they put spikes on this? Surely they wouldn't be that deadly. Well, no, not here at the start of World 1 Zone 1. But it does get trickier. Messed up that jump. I'll see you in a second. And I literally mean a second, because we got the checkpoint. I was actually preparing to cut there, but I guess not. Okay, so we've really got to get that jump just right. Aim for the right here. And look at that precarious little leap there. Who would do that in normal modes? Not many players. Here we get another really big jump. It can be done with a normal jump, but a lot of people do try to jump dodge that. If you're very comfortable with jump dodging, it can help you a lot in Trib. But I'm only going to do it where it's absolutely necessary. Here, we're on a hill. And this looks pretty good, I guess. I mean, we're getting closer to it again. Remember, flowers are out to kill you. So don't walk directly towards any of them. If you go this little path here, you should generally be okay. You've got a monkey there. There's actually probably spikes here, I think. Because usually the way that I come is up here. And then we've got all of these spikes. I'm going to jump around the corner here. And just stay on the outside as best I possibly can. Over to this corner. Onto this tree. Climbing up the tree allows us to get onto this hedge over here. And you'll notice we could have come here in normal mode for those extra chests that we dug up. And over here, don't go too deep onto the inside of this. I think there might be spikes. I really want to check. Are there spikes? There's not spikes. Okay, cool. You can get a chest in Tribulation mode. And now, well, we want to get to the checkpoint. You'll notice we're behind the spikes. Fantastic, right? Well, here's the thing. There are actually even more spikes here directly below me. So when you're going for this, don't just drop down and think, oh, I'm nice and happy and safe. You'll get hit by even more spikes. There's like a box of spikes. We have to use the height of this to jump right into the corner there. It's really tight, okay? Also, this rock here is a dangerous rock that will seek to knock you away. So instead of coming from all the way over here, which might leave me landing here, and then the rock knocks me into the spikes or something, I'm actually going to start the jump from like back here. And I'm going to angle just to get as deep in there as possible away from this rock. Like that. And then we can run through and get the checkpoint. Pretty good, right? I guess I'll show you those other spikes now. They're right there. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to show you guys an even faster way to get through this. I'll also point out, that looked a lot easier than it was when Tribulation first came out. Just because when Tribulation first came out, you couldn't see all the spikes remaining. So you never quite knew where this one ended, like what your safe zone was. So imagine we've just come along these trees and we're faced with this. Remember I was avoiding this? Well, you can actually use this rock. He is a fake angry rock. Wow, I'm calling him a fake rock. He's a real rock. He's just an angry rock, right? He's an angry rock. But if we're really quick, we can climb on him, turn around, jump dodge back into the safe zone, and we can skip that whole bit with the balloons there. Don't believe me? Well, just watch, I was going to say. Oh, it would have been so brilliant. Look, I will show you, though. It is a thing. And back when I was originally very good at this world, I haven't been for a long time now, a couple of festivals. I used to do this all the time. Let's try again. Ready? Okay, that didn't work. So there, we're going to jump onto the little rock, dodge, and then jump dodge over. And in just seconds, you can be done with a checkpoint. So I'm showing that to demonstrate something else about Trib. That, yeah, in this mode, the devs know the maps really well, really intricately, and you're going to be going the long way around a lot of the time. A lot of those skips and shortcuts from normal mode are just not a thing. But you as the player can still do shortcuts even on the Tribulation mode runs. You just have to be that one level ahead. And so, Tribulation mode really recaptures, I think, some of that old school gaming experience where people excitedly talk about finding new shortcuts and skips and ways through levels that dramatically speed things up. And I'll be showing you several of those as we go through too. Some of them are obviously then not in the spirit of the regular Trib run, and I'll try and give you the best of both worlds, showing you where the devs intended us to go, and then also the really epic shortcut, as we see here. So yeah, there you go. And that's pretty much the makeup of Trib here. Next section now is filled with spikes. I remember this one particularly on my first ever playthrough really making me laugh. We want to go left. And false rocks. So you see that this guy is a false rock. I was invulnerable from the checkpoint there, but he would have knocked me away. This here is a false rock. This is a false rock. One of the rocks over here near this tree is a false rock. And so if you go even slightly towards them, they're going to knock you around. Now, using that technique of dodging I showed a second ago is pretty much vital to get through this, unless you're really quick. False rocks are a weird one in that they're actually affected a lot. Angry rocks are affected a lot. I don't know why I think they're false. They're posers, guys. They're affected a lot by latency, okay? So if we press F11 and we look at our ping here, I live in EU at the moment, and I'm connecting to EU at the moment. So I'm at 58 ping. But if you're traveling across the Atlantic, if you're an OCX player or something, as you move around, as Brack moves, the lag will mean his actual hitbox is always slightly behind him. And then false rocks are angry rocks are slightly more likely. They're making me angry now to hit you. So depending on like your latency, you actually can change your route on this one. I'll try and go the super fast way, which is to basically hug the edges of all these platforms as much as possible, and then none of them will hit you, okay? What you just saw there, I'm actually really impressed with myself having handled. That can be very difficult to do, and in other cases you want to like dodge against them. In fact, I feel it's so important to show you guys the other technique, because this is actually quite a hard checkpoint. Here, I'll show you. I tend to do a bit of a hybrid, where this one I go on the outside, that one I go on the... There, you see I got hit by that rock? Usually I try and chance that rock, and I try to just skip past him. So we'll try this again. Cut left. Here I'll go more central, and if he hits me by going more central, what's going to happen is he'll just knock me onto this tree and nothing bad will happen. Then here, I'm going to dodge against that wall to get rid of him, and then come here and I'm safe. Then this guy's angry, and this guy here is angry. So I'm going to wait for all my endurance to come back, and I'm just going to do it really safe and steadily. I'm going to come here, dodge, then I'm going to come here, dodge, and then I'm going to jump, and I'm going to jump. The trick is to not panic. And then, with that, we have the checkpoint. Hurrah! Oh dear, it's more lava. See what I mean? They're funny about it. The second you're safe, they'll grab you. So, yeah, this is a false floor. We're instead going to use these happy little rocks. Look at these. These are, like, so iconic to me in representing how Tribulation is different to normal rocks that you totally normally ignore. Do you dare try and go for the secret room? Well, I certainly don't. Hey, we got the bee dogs that come out of the flowers, remember? Well, look at this. Now... Oh dear, there's more spikes. Now, we have to jump across the flowers. Pretty nice. And so, yeah, to avoid those spikes, you just want to be kind of up the hill. I actually thought I was in a good position there, seriously. So, I guess we'll just stay on this. And then we'll jump to this. And then hop along with the flowers. In this next area, we're going to find... I think there might be spikes here. We're going to find one of the last big mechanics. And it's a pretty crazy one. It's a Tribulation cloud. So, yeah, that is metal music you're listening to right now. If I go into my... Oh, God, there's too much to talk about. First of all, it's an invulnerable cloud that goes mental, knocking you over, doing crazy CC, and just trying to blow you up. All you can do is run from these guys. You are at the complete mercy. So let's just skip through, and we died. So you'll see that they do quite a lot of damage. Also, yes, in the background, you can actually hear metal. When Tribulation mode first came out, that wasn't a component. If we look in Brack's inventory, you should see, let's see, shard. Here, we got this item sneakily loaded in. You might have noticed it right at the start of the video. When you enter Tribulation mode, called a Shard of Dusk, it says this super adventure augmentation was created by the Asuran musician Dusk after a long session of Tribulation mode in Moto's super adventure box. Caution, may overload near Tribulation clouds. So I think if we delete this item, it will stop, maybe? Or I think that was the idea of the item, but it doesn't work, or I'm misunderstanding it. But basically, yeah, a member of the community did these amazing metal remixes of the Super Adventure Box soundtrack that the devs enjoyed so much. Many of them being metal fans, I presume. Myself, I would include among them, not as a dev, but as a metal fan. They enjoyed it so much that they actually put it in game. It's quite a blessing, honestly, for the player, for the member of the community to have that happen. They're hidden away to only appear next to the Tribulation clouds within Tribulation mode, which most people don't play. So, personally, I do have my misgivings about this whole thing. Okay, wait, we need to go this way. So you notice there's a balloon here, which is kind of nice. If we move on forwards, you'll see... well, we would just normally come up here and there's spikes. So this is pretty much a no-go, all right? We're not actually going to be going that way. As much as it is a nice thing that the devs did, I do kind of have my misgivings about it. I must be honest. It's Guild Wars, and it doesn't really have metal. Like, it feels like it's too much of a clash with the setting to me. It just feels very strange. And even aside from an argument of that, I quite often find Tribulation clouds are really frustrating. That's what they're meant to be. But it means, by association, I end up hating this music. Just because you can't really sit down and get involved and enjoy it. The music is like just going on in the background while most of your brain power is thinking about how to defeat the challenge. Metal is something I think you want to turn up loud, you want to really think about and enjoy and be in the moment and, you know, feel move through your body. That's how to enjoy metal. And the music just totally clashes to me. It becomes a serious irritation to me really quickly just because I can't focus on it. I'm focused on something else. And it's very jarring hearing that music cut in out of the regular Super Adventure Box track. In fact, as much as I like Super Adventure Box music, usually while in Trib, I must be honest, I actually have it muted just so that this doesn't cut in some of the more particularly aggravating sequences with Tribulation clouds later on. We'll get to those. But yeah, I think it's great, and I like the music for itself, but the pairing I find odd at multiple levels, so not sure how much I stand by it. Damn it, man, and I'm failing at the most basic stuff here. Ridiculous. So yeah, this is a huge checkpoint. You need to go past the cloud, grab the balloon, and yes, we are now headed towards the Queen Bee area. We're forced to because of those spikes. Or I say forced to. More on that in a second. Let me just be clear again, the music is incredible, and it changes zone by zone. For this zone, it's a remix of the World 1 Zone 1 music. For the next time we find it in another zone, it will change, and again and again and again. Some of them are even better than this one. There we go, we got across the clouds. I'd just rather appreciate it, you know, listen to it on a SoundCloud or something. So we're going to go this way, and we get this this checkpoint. The Tribulation cloud is actually still following us here. You'll see he's all the way over there. So you do actually have to do quite a lot to break his aggro. If we try and walk towards that monkey, there's spikes. Oh my god. And the monkey is nailing us something fierce here. It's weird doing Tribulation while trying to explain everything. We end up getting hit by so much more stuff than we wouldn't if we were just continuously moving. So we're going to jump down here. Dodging those flowers just because I'm scared of them. Jump onto this and come into the center of this room. I should get a bit of a choice here. I'm going to go this way. And that's a false rock, but as long as you're moving fast, it's not a problem. And we're going to come up here. I do think there are some false floors around, so be cautious. There are so many invisible hidden mechanics and obstacles. There's no way in this series I'm going to be able to show you every single one. I'm not going to pop every single spike. Just trust me. The route I'm going is quite often, maybe not so much in this zone, but in the other ones, very precisely set up. There we fell and we're back at the cloud, but it's okay because we got the checkpoint. But so here, for example, even the very first Tribulation cloud exhibits a bit of my problem with the music. You have the normal Super Adventure Box music. Then it cuts away for the remix for about, what, 5 seconds? Less than that? Then you're going to pass back to it for it to cut in again, even though the cloud itself isn't an obstacle to you anymore because you're so much higher up than he is. And that happens a lot, where you find a cloud and then you're gone from the cloud and then you go back to the cloud and then you're gone from the cloud. Just a bit frustrating. So there, that's the end of that checkpoint. I do want to point out, and how can I do this? I guess not very easily. Interesting. Well, these spikes are not actually 100% hazard. What you can do instead is jump dodge past straight from here onto this platform, and then you can like climb onto this rock and just move along. Basically, with a bit of zigzagging, you can bypass the spikes altogether just by doing a direct jump into the middle. There are all spikes across the top of this, for what it's worth. And then you can, like, come along the side where my cursor is here, jump back to the green, and then back over beyond the spikes and come down here, thus allowing you, again, to skip a huge leg of the level. Lots of big skips. That one, to show you both, was a bit difficult. But yeah. Oh, now those kegs that once upon a time were pickups for us aren't. That's a double whammy of pain. Because first of all, it means we get killed by it. Second of all, we don't get the swiftness speed, which we could use in normal mode to do these quite lengthy jumps. By the way, if you go directly forward, there's spikes again. That's why I was on this edge. I guess I could show you the immediate traps in the vicinities of the checkpoints quite easily. So, yeah, let's pull up here and here. And that you can do with a regular jump, but once you're used to jump dodging, is probably a little bit safer. Oh god, guys. It's a huge open field, and how much of it is false floor? Well, we just don't know. There are actually several ways to do this next section, and I have to be honest, and this is quite rare, I think, for me, in Tribulation mode. I don't actually know what way the devs want us to go, but I'm going to walk under the tree line here. I'm going to dodge because of these fingers that will try to kill us. I'm going to kill the monkey from the safety of here. Now, all across this is spikes, all right? So we have to be very careful. We need to, like, get onto the platform, but staying at the edge of the platform so we don't trigger the spikes, but more onto the platform so that Bract is higher up. You see how we're off the edge right now and quite low down? Well, we need enough height to jump onto this tree here. So we've got to, like, walk to the right a bit to get the height, then jump, and then try and make it. Well, now the spikes have appeared, but you see they say under the ground, so you can't really see. So I do have a little bit more leeway. This is the way I usually do this, but I feel like maybe there's another option. I just don't know how much of this is genuinely false floors and, like, round on the right. Oh, and there is another thing I can't wait to show you. It's to do with a special area you can only access in the box. Damn. So there we did make the jump, but we landed on it too low down, and that's triggered the spikes again. Next time, I'm sure we'll get it. There we go. So there was a lot more safe stuff there than I actually remembered. Okay, so we can climb and climb and climb, right? And we can leave this area altogether. However, did you know, if you come down here, where again, we're going to be surrounded with false floors and snakes and just horrible stuff. I mean, the snakes are there in normal mode. They don't actually mess with the enemy spawns, as far as I know. If we play carefully enough here, there was, in one of the years, an update that gave us a furniture shop. Now, on my previous run-through, you guys might remember, so if we drop down here, maybe? There we go, we're going down. Now, on my previous run-through, you guys might remember, I did say, I tried to show off all the furniture shops, but there was one I wasn't able to, and that's this one here. So what we want to do is we want to land on this down here, but not hit our head on the bush that's above us. So I'm going to move along a little bit more. Okay. And now we're going to be all the way down here by the lava. Look at this. Now down here. This area we're now visiting was not here when Tribulation mode first came out. It was just sort of a genius extra thing the devs added, realizing that they could put hidden stuff in these lava rooms right at the back of Zone 1. But look at this. What appears to be just regular lava from any glance you would usually have at this as you fell to your death, in fact, is a hole in the lava. Look at that effect. It's really beautiful. You don't really see it anywhere else in Super Adventure Box or Tribulation mode. We jump in perfectly in the hole. And look at this. It's the hidden furniture shop that I was never able to show off in that previous series. One of the very rare special little places you only get in Trib. Usually the devs don't add stuff exclusive to Trib because they know it's just such a small fraction of the player base that really sort of gets this and has a kick out of this. And so, you know, they don't try and frustrate people by making you all play through it. But yeah, I can show it off. And on that note, as we finish the level now, I do want to point something out with Trib. I think pretty much anyone has the capacity to love this mode. I really, really do. Now, you might not buy into that. You might think this looks horrible and hideous and whatnot. The problem, I think, with a lot of MMO players, and a lot of video game genres in general now, is we all have, like, a very, like, fast consumer perspective about how to treat the media. What we do is we view it as a thing to be beaten, something to get the rewards. You'll notice in this video, I've not even talked about why you would play Trib yet, right? Because if you play from a mindset of just looking at the rewards, and only the rewards, and your whole motivation is the rest of the stuff is filler until you get what you want, then the entire thing is just going to be an exercise in frustration. You're going to find yourself looking at guides and watching people do precise, specific route jumps that are way out of, you know, your league, and you're not really understanding why they're doing it. And you don't ever get to a point where you understand why the spike traps are funny, or why a false floor is funny, or a fake rock is funny, or, you know, you never end up playing that game mentally with the devs where you're trying to anticipate what they're going to trick you with, knowing that they're doing the same to you, and the entire experience comes to life. Trib is something to be played, like many old school games, just for the fun of playing it and the moment-to-moment experience. The adventure, the journey is, in a way, the prize. And if you don't log into Tribulation mode and treat it that way, as hopefully I've given you that experience, at least to some extent in this video, it's semi-guide-like, right? If you don't do it that way, you're never going to find the joy in it. And I think most people, with how we now consume MMOs, and have for many years to tell you the truth, most people just load into Trib with the complete wrong outlook. And thus, they never get it. It never clicks for them. And then, you know, the whole thing just seems stupid. So really try to not act that way. Try to think about it in the terms that the devs were actually presenting it. And I think you'll find you can have that joy. Treat it as a challenge, as something to overcome. Spend an hour or so on it after work. You know, even if you're a time crunch player that doesn't get that much time, really, you can get through this and you can learn it without doing guides and stuff, and you can indulge in what was actually supposed to be fun. So yeah. And with that, we can kill the cage. You'll notice that none of the enemies are tankier or doing more damage. They didn't just cheesily add to their stats. And I kind of like that. I wonder if that was a deliberate decision. Even the cages aren't even any more deadly. We get Moto's finger. I could have used as elite to get through that even quicker. And with that, that's zone 1 complete. You'll notice we get a whole ring of extra baubles this time. Some of these are purple baubles. That's 50 apiece. So I got a whole bauble bubble just there from those. Then opening the chest, double bauble bottles, and a ton of other things, including continue coins. Again, I really think using the infinite coins is a good idea. Just in the production of this video, I died over 25 times. Sneakily, many of them were cut out. See if you can go back and see where they were, leave in the comments. But there you have it. So that's World 1, Zone 1. It took me a long time to talk about it because the entire principle of Tribulation mode is something I wanted to express here. The next zones, we should get through a bit quicker. I'll show you some of the more cunning hazards and the routes that I usually take. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks so much for watching, and Bract will be back very soon for the next difficult Tribulation zone. Oh yeah. We also got a King Toad token. I'll talk about those once we beat the 3rd zone.